Hello. Today I'm going to talk about subtracting across zeros when you have to regroup, which is really tricky. Of course, you can still use the same strategies that we've been working on in class, like number line, blocks, expanded form, or the algorithm. The traditional algorithm is just a little harder because you're going to end up having to regroup 3 times, and you'll end up having to regroup twice just in the tens place. So it's a lot to keep up with. This strategy that I'm going to teach you today is called box it in, and it's going to hopefully make that a little bit easier to deal with. So the problem I have written for us is 400 minus 246, and I want to talk about the 400 just for a minute. So when I have 100, that's the same thing as me having 10 tens. Think about 100 block and think about breaking it apart into tens. You're going to have 10 tens for each 100. So for the first 100, 10 tens, 100. In 400, I'm going to have that 4 times. So I'm going to have, here's my first 100, second 100, third 100, and then fourth 100. And so I end up having 1, 2, 3, 4 hundreds. But how many tens are in 400? 10, 20, 30, 40. So when we're going to regroup across zeros, it's important to know that you can break numbers apart in lots of different ways. So in this case, if we're going to start this just like the algorithm, I'm going to look and say, okay, well, 0 in the ones place means I don't have 6 to give away. So I'm going to have to regroup something. Traditionally, then, we go to the tens place, but now the tens place doesn't have anything either. So I'm going to change my thinking around a little bit and think about 400 not as 400 ones and not as 4 100s, but I'm going to think about it as 40 tens. And so if you look at this, if you think about this number, if it ended in the tens place, the number would be 40. So 40 tens is the same thing as 400. Now, from now on, with box it in, I'm going to think about this number, 400, as if it is 40 tens. And I'm going to work from there. So I know I need to regroup something to my ones place so that I have enough to subtract. So I'm just going to take one of these 40 tens away, and that's going to leave me with 39 tens. The other 10 I'm going to move over to the ones place. So now I have 39 tens, which is 390, plus 10 ones, which puts me up to 400. I haven't lost anything or gained anything. I'm just rearranging and regrouping my numbers. So now I'm going to subtract. 10 minus 6 is 4. 9 minus 4 is 5, and 3 minus 2 is 1. So my answer is 154. Let's take that and compare it to what it would look like if we just did the traditional algorithm. So I'm going to do the same problem over here. And so now when I start in the ones place, I've got nothing, so I need to come over and regroup. Well, I don't have anything here either. So now I'm going to have to go to the hundreds, take one of my hundreds, which leaves me with 3 hundreds, regroup that 100 to tens. So 10 tens is 100. And then I'm going to have to come back again because I still don't have anything in the ones. So I'm going to have to come back again, regroup one of these tens, which leaves me then with 9, into 10 ones. So there's really 2 steps of regrouping when you do it the traditional algorithm way. But we end up with the same thing on top, 300s and 9 tens. 300s, 9 tens. One thing that I notice kids doing a lot is that they forget that they have to cross out this 10 and regroup a second time. So they end up with 3 hundreds, 10 tens, and 10 ones, which actually is 410, so that changes the entire problem. So the boxed it in method eliminates that mistake. So then we just subtract like normal. 10 minus 6, 4, 9 minus 4, 5, and 3 minus 2, 1. Okay, so what happens then if the 0 is in the middle and there is something in the ones place, but we still have to regroup? So for instance, let's say my number is 604, and we'll take away 197. Okay, so I'm going to start out looking in the ones place. I have 4, but I can't take away 7, so I'm going to have to regroup. There's nothing in the ones place, the tens place for me to take, but I know that 600 is the same thing as 60 tens. So essentially in this problem I have 60 tens and 4 ones. So I'm going to box this in to remind myself that 600 is the same thing as 60 tens, and then 604 would be 60 tens and 4 ones. So I'm going to regroup one of these 60 tens, which leaves me with 59 tens, and I'm going to add it to my ones place. So now I took that 10 and moved it here, but I still had the 4 that I started with. So you can either look at that as 14. I like to look at it as 10 plus 4 because it's easier to subtract numbers from 10 than 14. In this case, it ends up being a double, so that's not too bad. So we know 14 minus 7 is 7, but I could also say 10 minus 7 is 3, and then 3 plus 4 is 7. So either way, your answer is going to be 7. And now 9 minus 9, 0, and 5 minus 1 is 4. I'm going to do one more example for each kind of problem, a number that ends in 2 zeros or a multiple of 100, and then I'm going to do one with a 0 in the middle. So let's do, just going to draw a line. All right, so let's do another one that's a multiple of 100. Let's do a big one. 800 minus 483. So let's think about 800 first. 800s is the same thing as 80 tens because there are 10 tens in 100. So I'm looking and I don't have anything in the ones place to be able to take away, so I'm going to box in 80 tens, and I'm going to regroup one of those 80 tens to be ones. That leaves me with 79 tens. And then I can just subtract. 10 minus 3 is 7. 9 minus 8 is 1. And 7 minus 4 is 3. Okay, let's do another one with a 0 in the middle. All right, let's see. How about 706 minus 438. Okay, so I have 6. I cannot take away 8. So let's think about this not as 700, but as 70 tens. And if I regroup one of those 70 tens, that will leave me with 69 tens here and 1 10 in the ones place. 10 minus 8 is 2. 9 minus 3 is 6, and 6 minus 4 is 2.